Howard Lutnick said. Why would Europe go electric when they don't make a battery?
Like a socialist government in history. What you are experiencing is totalitarian socialism. I'm sorry, it is the definition, according to Benito Mussolini, of fascism. It's not that the right is fascist. Fascism never comes from the right. It comes from the left. It comes from socialism. National socialism. Speaking as somebody from down south, what we see is a totalitarian socialist takeover of Canada. Governments worldwide are finally admitting that the end downfall of our societies. A recent report confirms that conspiracy theorists have said all along. COVID likely came from a lab incident involving dangerous taxpayer-funded research. They also went on to admit that the vaccine was recklessly rushed, skipping proper safety trials and led to significant harms, and said that schools were unscientifically closed, causing unprecedented psychological damage to children. This confession by the U.S. comes just weeks after the Canadian government showing how our top security biolabs sent deadly pathogens to China's military to function research, which eventually led to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, across the ocean, British leader Keir Starmer is questioning the open borders experiment. Mass migration was some unavoidable crisis by world leaders. This isn't about governments failing to respond to unforeseen problems. It's about deliberate actions, one crime after another. In the past 5 years, they've funded and engaged in risky bioweapons research involving deadly pathogens by hostile countries. Under the guise of public health, for all-cause mortality to skyrocket after coercing the public into experimental pharmaceutical products. They pushed into poverty, crushed small businesses, expanded democracy, and facilitated the largest upward wealth transfer in history. They mass psyops to scapegoat and gaslight anyone who dared to dissent, tearing apart friends, families, and communities in the process. Framing these actions as competence or well-laid mistakes is an insult to the truth. Governments and transnational corporations amass unimaginable amounts of wealth and power during the mass casualty event they caused. Anything less than psychopaths is a mockery of justice. We cannot let those who lied, tyrannized their way into societal destruction to bury their over us while collecting taxpayer-funded salaries. It's time for real accountability. No more empty reports, no more political doublespeak. It's time we learn what justice looks like. And all this power, even next for the paragraph. So in your clip here, but as there's a lot of clips I want to get today. Spotlighting globalism is tyrannical and taking power away is important, but we need retribution so that the criminals don't reconstitute it again. So we don't have this happen again. What needs to come out of this? I mean, how would you quantify the moment in history we're in right now? Well, after the Second World War, there was something called denazification, and it's just what it sounded like. I mean, Germany needed people to rebuild it, and a lot of the leadership had been Nazis. You can't simply tell millions of men they cannot be involved in the country. So they had an ideological effort to purge them of Nazism. I have a similar communification, I'm making up a word, after the fall of the Berlin Wall. And I'm not just talking about individual people who were denazified. Culturally, we make communism as odious as Nazism. I remember in high school, my high school English teacher had a hammer and sickle on his belt buckle. How was that different than a Nazi swastika on his belt buckle? In fact, it's pretty well known that the communists had a larger death toll. And so I think that whether it's national socialism or international socialism, both of those totalitarian regimes have killed so many millions. I think we have to, and I'm not talking about, and I mean, let's propaganda. The Labour Party is admittedly the same as socialists in England,
the most vicious group. Yeah, and look, I'm not telling people they're not allowed to have thoughts, to have authoritarian. I mean, you can't tell people what to think. But as a society, we need to all stand up and repeat. And it's persona non grata. You're right. I remember in that English class, there was a classmate of mine who escaped from communism in Southeast Asia, and I just wondered what he thought, having been freedom in Canada, and now this company teaching English. There were a lot of interesting things there, and I don't know if you know, you probably did, because these things. China has a very virus lab in province of Manitoba, and they had Chinese nationals in that lab stole viruses and took them to China, and they were allowed to go back to China without being killed. So a lot of terrible mutation of viruses that I don't even think can be reported. Listen, all these things are right. I love what Lutnick said, though, and it meshes with what Peace says, and it's to replace and the rules-based international order with something about reality, with strength. It may sound like a contradiction in terms, but the only way Donald Trump is able to knock and get peace, and if he does get one in Russia, Ukraine, because the force of his personality is matched by the force of America economically. That's right. That's why you've got to have bilateral, trilateral system where we can make deals a la carte, not some centralized corrupt UN and failed globalist system. So let's get to that central guy. That central guy who's going to knock heads at both sides, and that has to be America. That cannot be China. That cannot be Russia. And that's why America must remain strong. It can't go the European route. Let's not be facts, the White House AI. I want to show you. I really like the guy. I don't understand all the ramifications of stopped to talk to you, unlike Larry Fink. So that's the first person. White House. Here it is. There's a rift between Europe and America on food. Talking about the fact that so you could argue that the U.S. is always arrested for social media posts. Not a great situation. Get back to one question just for 1 second. X versus how they treat TikTok or other platforms. Well, all I can say is that they've been sort of rather the saber about on X or about X recently. I mean, this happened back when Breton was threatening X over the fact that Elon conducted a Twitter space with President Trump. Remember that? On Canada, I don't know if you're following. We're from Canada. Coming on the X. What are they scared of? Need a little bit of help up there because I think that being style regulatory state. Yeah, not great. Look, we're proponents of freedom. The administration is. We hate our European friends so much in common. So, common Western values, not respect for as much. We hope this trend turns around. Sarah Rogers again is working on this issue. Very bold. In contact with senior diplomat of the State Department, pushing back at Europe. So he's very dialed in. And that's what makes it great about that is the kind of granular detail about what questions do I have? So again, I apologize for the stammering. I only really have 10 seconds with him. What would you ask in your first 10 seconds? Here's what I did. Here it is. But at least he was smart enough to act like he answered your question. Yeah, I mean, he lowers the energy. Like if Smelly Fink would just take the question, take it down, slow it down some word, frankly, that would reduce the friction. But I think Larry Fink is too aggressive and combative, wants to smash everything. When you think about it, Tedros is a kind of diplomat. He's a operating between conflicting forces. In some ways, he's a better communicator than Fink. If I could do that again, I would ask him something like, do you feel personal responsibility for the fact that the United States has quit the World Health Organization? Don't you take that as a vote of no confidence? But that's I would have said the United States out of your treaty, your whole regime, that force vaccine collapsed is not a repudiation of your totalitarianism. Yeah, you know what? And that's like I'll stop that. Well, I think you're going to come up with one day. I'll do that here. But you're able to talk to him about Tommy Robinson. What you said about Nigel, immigration. That's what he does. I do what I do. What do you say to people who are worried that you're turning a light to another because everyone's affecting them? We're taking some experience from the party. We're holding them out. Don't worry, this won't be Tory 2.0. No chance. Yeah, I mean, I'll say it. Farage is going sideways. I mean, I've been interviewing him 20 years. And having dinner with him once for Stone at the RNC. He's a very cold operator. We're glad he survived his plane crash. Rest of it. I can tell you, he's going to get a new Steven Spielberg's movie. If they remake Raiders of the Lost Ark, he'll be a Gestapo officer in that outfit. That's very slick. But yeah, what's really going on with Nigel Farage? I think our like him more than you. I understand he's a politician operating in a very challenging environment, so he has to be careful. I sort of like his line. Let Tommy Robinson do his thing, which is being a movement activist, very bold, strongly speaking about radical Islam. And that's why my colleague Avi Amin pressed Nigel Farage to back away from false statements. And Nigel did a little bit. Listen, Nigel Farage, God willing, will be the next Prime Minister of the UK. He lead on the polls for months. And I believe that he will stop mass immigration and possibly reverse it in a Trump-style remigration to mass deportation. He's not perfect. No politician. You know what the Bible says, but not your trust in princes. Not just
I've loved him for 20 years until the last few weeks. Kind of went sideways. So yeah,
I listen. If he destroys the UK Labour Party and brings it back, like I was up there. He won a special election with the motto "Free immigration, stop the boats." I got to tell you, Alex, I'd vote for him if I were a Brit.
absolutely. All right, Rebel Media, ladies and gentlemen, to find you at WorldEconomicForumReports.com. More great work for you guys. Thank you so much, Ezra Levant.
Thanks for having me, and we have been keeping the fire burning for years while the world wasn't paying attention. Now, hopefully, people are paying attention to what's going on in the World Economic Forum. And thanks for giving me access to your wide audience, and hopefully they saw some things they found interesting. God bless you. Talk to you soon.
I designed this new hat. I love it. I think it's popular. And it's not yellow and white. You're gonna wipe that back on Pick up. Snap out of it. so great. You have an 81% reorder on stuff like Methylene Blue. That's it works so good. Nobody has that. GalaxyStore.com. The coordinates of incredible products and the coordinates of fun in the same revolution. Why? Our has to us. If you ask Grok, or if you ask a sports nutritionist, or if you ask the nutritionist on the Olympic teams, they will tell you that creatine is absolutely a must. TheAllenShowStore.com already has the very best creatine you can get on the market. Now we're introducing this. I'm extremely excited. Let me introduce you to this bad boy that comes in two delicious flavors. That is the recommended daily allowance of the highest quality type of creatine. Right there. Concentrated, the very best. We get it from the top lab in the country, the highest rate, 5 milligrams of this a day. Most people think creatine is just about better muscle, healthier, more stamina. It's been proven, it's been documented. I'll show you what Rock had to say about it here in just a moment. The first thing you got to understand is that it's not just making your muscle better or your body do more exercise. It's doing all these incredible things for your brain and everything else. And that's really more and more what scientists are saying people should focus on with creatine. And just since I've been taking creatine the last few months, it has had dramatic effects on my clarity, my focus, my energy, especially when used with methylene blue. Again, everybody knows about muscle performance, or most people do. What are the other benefits? Rock's secondary emerging benefits. It improves anaerobic capacity and power output. May increase glycose storage in muscles when combined with carbs. Potential brain benefits. Improves cognitive performance under sleep deprivation or mental fatigue. Possible neuroprotective effects being studied in traumatic brain injury, Parkinson's, depression, etc. May benefit vegetarians and others who have a lower level of creatine in their diet. Who benefits the most? Older adults, strength and power, people with low dietary creatine. It goes on and on. Bottom line, if you're not taking creatine, you're crazy, and we've got the best. I remember when I right now, I start to that coming up. Just had the J6 cop, Michael Fanone, said we used your Second Amendment to start killing ICE people a week ago. Now he just flipped out. I've been wrangling and made up stuff like completely insane. Let's come next segment. But right now, we're taking your phone calls. Sean in New York, thanks for holding it on the air. Go ahead.
General Jones, Captain Clown, call for duty, sir. I would like to bring up the fact of the common denominator of most of these rioting leftists seems to be vaccines. They've all been vaccinated, and they have these aggressive impulses. I was just wondering how you feel, if you think that there's something to do with maybe Harvard and the frequencies or SSRIs that are making these people go into this aggressive reaction. Also, I wanted to bring up the weather situation that's going to happen. I brought it up at Thanksgiving. It was actually an episode of The Simpsons, and I kind of was watching everything. 3 Atlas shooting a hole in the sun, and I kind of was piecing together. We're probably going to get increasing cold weather. But also, if we took over Venezuela, aren't we the northern now? But doesn't Greenland, isn't that America's military? Hasn't America always been the military for Greenland? And General Tedros, one of the best things he ever did was don't give the vaccine to children, killing them. But nobody brings that up anymore.
Adult people.
Right. What happened to Musha? How's she doing? Your cat, Musha.
Great.
Oh, okay, that's fantastic. So now we're talking back to the aggressive rioters. Do you believe it's the vaccine and the frequency that can make them actually go all berserk?
There are studies out showing ahead and go to Adam in Oregon. Adam, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, that was interesting. Cobra Commander, good to talk to you again.
Cobra.
Camo, you look like you're wearing Norman Schwarzkopf from Desert Storm.
I was just being lazy. I was being lazy today. Go ahead, yeah.
I wanted to call and let you know David Medina here in Oregon on Monday announced his candidacy for governor here in Oregon. And I believe you're aware of him. I think he may have used to work with you guys at one point, but I don't know if you're aware of that. But that's here in Oregon. And I just wanted to give him a shout out and hopefully touch that, shout him out and help us out here in Oregon.
Oh, that's great. Absolutely. What about the Democrats thing? Is going to say about that?
Oh, just the standard. The governor here, we signed a petition because they tried to put a gas tax on. We signed, got 275,000 people to sign a petition, and now she's going to have the legislation pull that bill and then reintroduce it right before the vote, so that the petition that all of us residents here signed is no. Then you have, the two Portland police officers shot the other night, and just the madness that's everywhere else in Democrat-run cities. We got it going on here.
Well, that's the thing. Is they just use a graph, kind of a guesstimate. Here, 2000. The left's kind of going like this, and it's just crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. This is 2025. I mean, it's just like it's going straight up now. So how crazy is it going to get, brother?
It's going to get crazier before it gets better, I think.
Well, one thing for sure, stuff's not going to be boring. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. Stay with us. $8 straight ahead. The entire world is racing into the fourth turning and the greatest quickening of our speed. 10,000 years of recorded history. You're in a war, right? And it's a declared war. The globals have declared war on Team Humanity. They've declared war on the God that made us. Not incredible. It is not heroic. It is not amazing to fight this. It is survival. This is the priority. The real world. This is game time. This is the crossroads of human destiny right now. Right now. And I see a bunch of other people not realizing how desperate the situation is. We need maximum urgency. We're up against the most evil people the world's ever seen. Don't you understand that? I don't want anybody who ought to be physically violent. I want you to kill with truth. Kill with your will. Kill their lives. Resistance to tyrants. So, Alex Jones. Best-selling author, top-levelist expert, Jay Iverson. Menace. Got some breaking news we're about to hit right now. On this live Thursday, January 2nd, 2026 translation at 2:06 Central Time. Wow, go after yourself. Rape my children, you sick bastard. And we got the video. I'm Franklin, former Green Beret, lawyer, intelligence. Say that. Go after yourself. Rape my children, you sick bastard. Star Michael Unknown screams that Ivan Franklin during Jack Smith's committee hearing. Democrats cheer as he exits the hearing room of Capitol Police. Now, he said just a week and a half ago, he said, get your Second Amendment to take out ICE. That's a real insurrection. And so he's been heavily involved in this whole thing. And it reminds me of when some of the neocons were the second third colonels from Mike Levin. He goes, he plays a clip of Tucker. Nothing about Levin, nothing about his family. So he goes, crap, he just put down my stepson. He said he deserves to die. I'm going to tell him, I've seen him personally. I love you. Said nothing about his family or anything. He's just mentally ill. guy that got caught, making all this stuff up. Little darling, like sits in the lap of Nancy Pelosi. Here he is making up stuff that I've never said.
That's a sick bastard making stuff.
And I love how
up.
the Capitol complex look out of regularness of it. We talked out with people during the war room. Think about that dude's kids. That's what they do. They always just make something up so they can be the victim.
Capitol Police are the worst.
Meanwhile, I mentioned this, I should have more, I'll shoot stuff to report on today. And tomorrow cover it. Simulation, civil war can be triggered by exactly what ISIS is doing now. And it's all the different levels. Okay, oh, look, in 2014 or 2024. In 2024, there was a drill with Penn State and the feds about, if Trump gets in, he'll send out ICE and that'll cause a civil war. But that's the plan. It's in it all. This is what they've been planning. We ran high-level civil war situations in Minnesota. It's exactly how they started. The Guardian. So now they're all saying, the left war game, that's how the civil war starts. No, that's how you say you start the civil war. So a big deal. I'm starting Jason, Maureen, and Taz. We'll call you back tomorrow. I'll take calls. The Friday show is on the headline. I don't hand them a ton to Jay Dyer of Jay's analysis with all the information he's got. We hear from him, and then in exactly 50 minutes from now, we're going to have him host the War Room 3 to 6 p.m. Remember, the dog don't hunt without you. You're the word of mouth. Share those feeds. The log shows on X and on Rumble, the Alex channel, and the local station you're listening to. You change the world, so thank you. Jay Dyer, takes over now.
Thank you, Alex. On the fourth hour today, we're going to talk about another one of those key texts that admit pretty much everything, and it's the present global text that we're working through. It's called The Old Boys, and it's a history of the American old elite and the origin of the CIA and the OSS, and it's very relevant for the World Economic Forum Davos, which is presently meeting. We're going to tie it into that, how that came about. But this is not a conspiracy text. This is a book that was written by a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, kind of like Carol Quigley's Treasury Note, but it's kind of lesser known. So this book goes into where the OSS and the CIA came from, how they were set up by British intelligence, how during World War II there were many situations where factions and members of the CIA, the Dulleses and others, were actually involved through their law firm, Sullivan and Cromwell, in aiding and abetting some of the tiny mustache man followers to help set that situation up. So this is a book that really vindicates and admits a lot of what is in Sutton's work. And it's again relevant because we're beginning to see a sort of false dialectic that's being created between the idea that Muslims and Christians should reunite together, the sort of right-wing movement. This always ends up being a giant fraudulent situation. It's being pushed constantly. But there's a clip I want to play before we do that from a couple of my friends, Jake Rattlesnake and Andrew Wilson. And in this clip, we're going to analyze something that happened recently by a funny admission from the global elites about the relationship between Islam and Islam. And you're going to notice that it's exactly what I've been saying for all of these years. It's not the popular position. Many people are ignorant about both Islam and Rabbinic Judaism and the attitude they have towards the West or towards Christianity, but they share a lot of commonalities. And in this clip, we're going to actually see the admission of this, and we're going to begin to learn why the fake right-wing controlled opposition types of movements, especially things like Kani or even the fake far right, they really provide the justification for these people to say, aha, look, we have this massive explosion of neo-Nazi
etc. And that becomes a justification for the next phase of crackdown. So if you want to go ahead and play this clip, and then I'll comment on it as we play it.
All right, second story that now the World Economic Forum, I'm president of the Conference of European Rabbis. The rise of extreme right in many countries is a response to the insecurity felt by the old Europeans, so-called old Europeans, regarding their immigrants, fighting Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. So, alliance between Muslims and Jews against the old European traditional.
Well, I want you to, in the dialectic in your head, right, put on your debate brain, your reasoning brain. This guy's not actually lying. He's telling you the truth. There has been a rise of the far right in European nations. They're reactionaries to what's going on with policies which have been directed by their leaders, which I disagree with. He's right. There is an increase in what would be considered Semitism. And that's across the entirety of the world, not just in the United Nations, right? Like, all of this is correct. But the part where it's problematic is response. So the thing is there good cause for people to be upset? Well, apparently the left and the far right are in unison. The idea that Israel, with the backing of secular around the world, is in the middle of the commission of that they're murdering wholesale an entire group of people for the purpose of political and social coherence. That's what they think is happening. So we can stop there. If that's the case, and then you have people who are in defense of that.
So you'll notice the point that we've been making for so many years here about the dialectic between the assumed unity of the right wing and Islam, or the idea that Christians are together with Judeo-Christian alliance against Islam. Really, all of that is nonsensical. The real battle here is a spiritual battle between truth and falsehood, between those who submit to Christ as the Messiah and those who don't. And the religion do share something in common with Muslims or the Jews or whatever, even if it's a minuscule degree. Some things in common really doesn't matter ultimately if, at the end of the day, those religions also profess that they have to get rid of you and destroy you, that they have to conquer you. So it doesn't really do any good from a sort of a humanist, watered down perspective of people in the West to say, oh, let's just focus on what we have in common, and why do we have to disagree when it's already part of their dogma, both in the Talmud and in Hadith and in the Quran, and that it's their job to eradicate religion. And both of those religions believe in doing that at pretty much any cost. In other words, there's no real limitation, very minimal limitations on what can be done against you and your people group to destroy you or to conquer you. The difference is that they exploit the weakness that they or perceived weakness in mainline Western liberalized Christianity, which is this idea that you can universalize our ethic. We believe in a universalized ethic, that we shouldn't mistreat people, that we shouldn't have a dual ethical standard for other people outside of us, etc. Attitude of these groups come out of a tribal ethic, and this is again one thing that distinguishes Christianity from the other so-called monotheistic religions, the idea that Christianity transcended tribal ethics. It doesn't necessarily mean that we transcend the idea of ethnic or people group.
protect our people group. And ultimately, what that leads to is a inbred ethic where you inbreed with your own people group. We see that in Ashkenazi Judaism. We see that in things like Somalia, where the Islamic people groups operate this way. It's very well known now. And this produces, mental illness. It produces low IQ. It produces all these problems. But that's the kind of norm for religions or people groups that don't have a universal ethic, that have a very tribal-based ethic. And it really produces a kind of psychopathy that justifies the eradication of everyone else by any means, because it's seen in this very sort of primeval survival attitude. And I don't think the answer is for white people that become okay. Most of that stuff also ends up being kind of weird self-control things to build opposition. So the only answer here, the only solution to this is to return to a universal Christian ethic, something that's taught by the Orthodox Christianity. We just had a recent statement by the patriarch and other bishops in the Middle East, the Orthodox Church, condemning Christian Zionism as a disastrous heresy that destroys the fabric of Christianity in the West. And we saw Ted Cruz condemning that statement and then coming out and reaffirming the idea that the church isn't the fulfillment of the Old Testament nations of Israel. Israel is really still the fulfillment of the promises of the Old Testament. So we have a Judaizing removal of the fulfillment of Christ and a return to a kind of retrograde view that ends up being a disaster for the people in the West. It ends up being a engineered political technology to make everybody submit to whatever Israel wants. And then we have the false dialectic of, well, if you don't support that, you are a Muslim. You must be a Muslim. You must be a supporter of Islam. Now, I can oppose both of those things and support the idea of an Orthodox Christian ethic. And really, Orthodox Christianity will be a loser in all of this because they have a huge chunk of the land in Palestine, in the Middle East, in Israel. So really, when all this goes down, whatever goes down, probably Orthodox Church there in the Middle East. But I don't have to support mullahs. I don't have to support Sunni versus Shia or any of that. I can recognize the reality of situations and try to promote something like a Christian. What about a Christian government? In the Middle Ages, we had a Christian government there. So maybe we should work to convert people to Christianity, to Orthodox Christianity. Maybe that'd be a good approach to fixing and solving the problems in the Middle East. Because as long as we're stuck in this sort of Old Testament tribal mindset of this tribe versus that tribe and eternal vendettas, we'll never progress. You don't get a civilization, you don't get a culture that flourishes in a tribal warfare mindset. It will return to something more primitive, something more primal. And perhaps that's what the global elite want, because if you factionalize everything and turn it into one of these tribal situations, you can then deindustrialize and you can have everybody at their throats and then bring in an austerity model of what the World Economic Forum, of what Davos, of what the internationalists want. They want this type of a fractured, factionalized, destructive warfare situation going on in chaos to then reorganize everything like a phoenix from the ashes into a technocratic socialist order. We've begun to see the return of censorship. Censorship turns to come back. We're beginning to be told that you can't speak against things happening in the Middle East. You can't speak against people groups that identify as minorities. We thought this was going away. It's beginning to creep back in. Of course, we knew it always would on the social media platforms. And spearheading that, of course, is people who say that you can't talk about Israel because if you do, you're anti-Semitic, and we from Israel will shut you down if you talk about it. So they're openly doing the very things that they're saying you can't talk about, which is a kind of intentional 1984 style operation. And again, this all comes out of this tribal mindset, right? Survival in extreme situations, whereby anything that supposedly the tribe is acceptable and applicable. But the problem with it, again, is that it comes with a lot of downsides. Number one, we don't live in the ancient world. This is the modern world where anything that people do can sort of broadcast, and then people can begin to see the hypocrisy. So then when you have that double standard, that dual ethic, people can begin to figure that out and see that, this is a PR nightmare. How are you going to convince people that you have the upper hand, you have the moral superiority, when you also have a dual ethic, which allows you to pretty much do whatever you want? And that's all
ridiculous nonsense with, Wakanda, super technology, time traveling, all this nonsense, pure absolute nonsense. And that is a huge distraction. All the soccer moms, the wine moms, and the wine hands throughout the country are now tuned into her soap opera, which is a week by week X Files episode updated with a new conspiracy to make you forget the last one. Nothing. I went hard on this for the last 2 months because she was at the top of media. I don't know if she's still up there in the Joe Rogan rankings, but she was at the top of media, and it's like, wait a minute, this matters. If the top of media is beginning to push absolutely insane things, and I don't have any problem criticizing TV today, but the problem is that why is she so focused on certain things like that when there's other issues that almost never come up, right? I mean, a year ago it was all about BB, was everything. Now it's all about. Before that it was Macron and the wife or whatever, the man or whatever. So now it's all about this, and so every week
Literally
there's a new
making the mayor.
absolutely necessary conspiracy that has to be focused on, and you've forgotten nonsense from last week. Star Witness, or whatever. It just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And now it's turned into full-on coast-to-coast level stuff with time travel or Sumerian technology. We watched the whole episode. People said, "Oh, you're taking it out of context."
Turn to coast to coast.
No, it's absolute nonsense. And again, that's all just absurd distraction from what's going on in the world, all this insane stuff. And I tried to warn people in that sphere. I tried to say 2 years ago when she was going in the direction of this sort of charismatic Catholic position where you get these intuitions, God speaking, all that kind of stuff. That's a dangerous position to be in. Not because God can do those things, but there has to be some kinds of checks and balances because we're all very susceptible to what we call pre-blast, which is something idea that whatever you feel is God talking to you at that time. It's got to be checked against some firewall bounced off of other people. And the Orthodox Church has that with spiritual fathers, where you bounce this stuff off. You don't get lost in sort of delusions because Jeremiah says our heart is very deceptive. We can be misled by our own intuitions and by our own heart. We get ourselves into thinking that we're more important than we actually are. And what we see in Candace is this idea that, well, I'm at the center of all of the world now, and the space-time continuum is all hinging upon me and my twin flame soulmate, reconnecting from beyond the grave, and Charlie speaking out of purgatory. It's just nonsense. And it should be called out as nonsense. Because now you have millions of soccer moms who are awake in America, but it's awake to Oprah level nonsense. It's not actually awake to what's going on. And people don't care about the history, they don't care about reading. I've learned this obviously from here. So what I've tried to do is take books that nobody's ever going to read and give them bite-sized pieces of information that you can learn and verify on your own behalf if you want to, with actual writings from the elite. Again, I think people just find it really hard to believe. Even if they believe the most insane stuff about time traveling, Sumerian, Wakanda technology, but they don't believe that, but they have a hard time believing that the elites would actually write books where they talk about what all the plans are and where they're going to take things. And say in regard to the book, Horace's book, Milner Fabian Conspiracy, everything that's in that book is in this book. It's just more of a historical account. But for example, in the book, Burton Hirsch, member of the Council of Foreign Relations, says that John Maynard and other Fabian socialists were the architects of America's transition out of the older non-interventionist and into this international socialist force for the doctrine of expanding Americanism, not in the sense of like free trade and that kind of stuff, or not in the sense of Austrian economics. Excuse me, I should say they did promote free trade, but not because of Austrian economics. We're talking about Keynesianism, so we're talking about soft socialism. We're talking about fiat money printing, which was the policy of the Wilson administration, the influence of Lord Rothschild and Colonel Edwin Mandel House, and that's admitted within the first chapter of the book. Walter Lippmann, John Monet, John Maynard Keynes, Colonel Edwin Mandel House, Lord Rothschild, these were all key figures influencing the Wilson administration, particularly in the time of what's called the Inquiry, which was the intelligence superstructure before the OSS. Right? So before the OSS, we did have an intelligence superstructure, particularly under the Wilson administration, known as the Inquiry, which is a bunch of academics and bankers pushing this idea of a Fabian socialist Federal Reserve-based global economic order right after World War I. And they decided that what they would have to do is use the techniques of intelligence manipulation and subterfuge throughout the world through a bunch of operations, set up the specific big socialist government, technocracy. Now, it doesn't end up happening after World War I, but they didn't stop. And when we come back, we're going to look at the rest of the plan and how it culminates in the World Economic Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, Nitric Boost, the all-time fan favorite, is now back in stock at InfoWarsStore.com.
I did, yes. Well, nitric oxide is a key. It's made by our bodies again. It's made by L-citrulline and L-arginine acids.
And now a major shipment has finally come back in. For those of you who want to be able to stock up on it at InfoWarsStore.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Judy Mikovits, without me even knowing she'd gotten it and used it, came on years ago and said this was the best spike protein detoxer she'd found.
Just like you want your body to make vitamin D from the sunlight, you can't force it back in people who can't make it. It can actually hurt them. It's called peroxynitrites. So you want to boost your own body's ability. The nitric oxide relaxes the endothelium, the vasculature. It relaxes the vein. So I use the two. Your InfoWars, I keep that on my shelf, and I feed myself the Cardio Miracle, which is just straight food. It's a different formulation than that one together are a 1-2 punch. So that in your food, the ability to make what you need and no more.
Because of the organic-based compounds that are in it that cause vasodilation in the blood vessels, in the arteries, in the veins, in the capillaries, and it just does so many other great things.
So constricted blood vessels too, because athletes are running, it's working so that the blood flows and it doesn't flow, which is why nitric oxide products, new products, I hope you'll sell it. That's a very important thing to have for acute events. It does all under the tongue, give you instant relaxing of vasculature.
Now listen, it is already a nationwide best-selling bodybuilding product for over 20 years. Bodybuilders take it to help grow muscles and better workouts and things. I was just researching and wanting to put something out that was good for the heart and talked to a lot of scientists and researchers I knew, and they said, well, these are the type of ingredients we were thinking about putting out a product. When I talked to formulators, they said, well, we actually already have a product that has that, so we private labeled it as Nitric Boost. And just for men in the morning, that's the big thing people feel and see right away. So imagine what else is doing for your body. So for those of you that love Nitric Boost, it's back in stock right now at InfoWarsStore.com. And for those that haven't tried Nitric Boost, you are really missing out. Secure your Nitric Boost right now at InfoWarsStore.com. We're battling in the courts. We're still here. A year after the Giants said they want us, we might actually hold on and win. But regardless, the shopping cart's there. The shipments are going out, and you will get your product. But if you don't order and support us, we'll be off the air. So it's a paradox. So please take action now at InfoWarsStore.com and experience yourself. And listen, men feel it in that one way. Women love it as well. It's good for men and women. Your Nitric Boost now, right now, exclusively at InfoWarsStore.com. And thanks for being the reason, one way or another, we'll always be on the air. InfoWarsStore.com. Nitric Boost back in stock. Welcome to the Great Reset. The box. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. Take the vaccine. Trust the science. Get your booster. Every crisis is an opportunity, and the world will be reshaped in our vision. Down with the globalists. Get ultramethylene red at thealexjonesstore.com. Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order. It's Alex Jones.
The program leftists failed to silence. It's the Alex Jones Show.
Welcome back to the fourth hour of the Alex Jones Show. Remind you, if you'd like to with some information, on my website,
etc. So we're talking about the origins of the modern intelligence agency, OSS, and how they come out of earlier versions that the Fabian Socialist elite, at the behest of Lord Rothschild and others, that set up the inquiry, and then sort of turned that into a socialist order even at that time. That's why we had back at that time after Woodrow Wilson, you had the rise of FDR and other socialists. America into some sort of a socialist order. And as we heard earlier, the same situation with the National Socialists as well, that both of these groups, whether leftist or they also come out of the same problem with reaction to monopoly capitalism. The problem is that both of those forms of socialism, national socialism and why do they put so much leftist on socialism? Well, it's really cutting monopoly capitalism. Trying to figure out the best way to concentrate and transfer well-off pools. Not through kind of an offshore economic model. Lots of economic models, and I'm not saying it doesn't have its own issues or separate features, but that model is not necessarily to socialist electric model. Socialism is sort of lowers the bar of where people feel in meritocracy or in terms of their entrepreneurship. It collectivizes the wealth out of the state. This is what you'll be simply not understand is that corporatism is that socialism is a tool of money release of all of the new corporations. For example, when corporations have gotten huge government deals and subsidies and government welfare. Right, on the right and amongst the conservatives, but this can happen at the level of the corporation as well. They can get government contracts and government welfare, which allows them to get ahead of everyone else, and that's the unfair study that we're doing in the system that we're supposed to realize that we're all in the system. And so it's not about individuals fighting the state, even though at one level, at the small business level, you might be actually competing with Walmart or something like that, which has unfair, laws and rules that favor it. So it might give you a appearance of maybe classical libertarian and sort of right-wing conservative conversation the last 20 years have talked about. And I'm talking about all the sort of normie ones, Mark Levin's and these Rush Limbaugh's and it's the private enterprise versus the laws and this and that. That's true at one level. At a higher level, there's a much more nefarious global problem of the corporate elite, the banking elite, structuring an international order whereby through, especially the technocracy now, social credit, all that, they can implement a complete track and trace and enslavement system, and that's where they want to go. Now, it's becoming very unpopular, and that's what we saw with Davos this week, where Trump, Howard Lutnick, others have given these talks, these lectures, saying this whole system doesn't work, it actually has failed. And a lot of what they said was great. Pretty much everything they said was true, spot on. The problem is that if we, it's almost maybe 20 years too late. And I'm not trying to be black-pilled because this is what we got to do. This is the hand we're dealt. We got to deal with it. So we have to keep doing what we're doing. But we should have really been realizing these things 20 years ago. Of course, Alex was here talking about all that stuff more than 20 years ago. So, had we listened, had we gotten more people on board, we might have been able to stave off of this collapse. But it's just so overwhelming at times because the attack is in every domain. It's our food, it's our monetary system, it's our education system. But we have to face up to that reality, and we've got to get past that they have, that there's no conspiracy, is still ignoramuses and the idiots in Washington and the left. They're so stupid. We've got to get to the point where we admit, no, there's actually a higher tier above those people. The people who run intelligence agencies, run the NSA, run, underground bases. I'm not talking about clones and all this nonsense, but who actually run that kind of stuff, who are competent people. Larry Fink is not incompetent. Okay, he's a very smart, very intelligent, cunning person. Okay, they're not dumb, and as long as we keep focusing on these people and these idiots that don't matter, the destiny, or the leftists, or all that stuff, and they are part of the problem. There's a big army that's out there. But when we're not talking about the fact that it's not Israel or China, both of those countries pose a threat to the West and to America. In fact, Israel has had a history of taking American secrets to China. There have been books written about that. China has now a partnership with Canada, and Canada is saying we want to go with China for the New World Order. Well, it's not an accident that the countries under the dominion of the UK, the Queen dominions, whether it's New Zealand or whether it's Australia or whether it's Canada or the UK, they're all moving rapidly towards Fabian socialism and then outright sort of third way capitalist synthesis socialism. So why is that? Well, that's because that is where we've been led. We've had American elite selling out the country, deindustrializing the country, moving all of our productivity overseas on purpose. So whether it's the Waltons and Walmart with deals with China many, many years ago, or whether it's the Rothschilds promoting the same types of attitudes and movements in America to offshore everything, and the complaint is, oh, well, but we have all of these laws that make it impossible to run a business, which is true, but that's by design so that the industry and everything will be shipped offshore to China, and so that we can have slave factories and all this. That's by design, because there was a push for many decades amongst the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, and all the same entities nowadays, and more, like Davos and the World Economic Forum, to push for a socialist world order that would denigrate and downplay America's role in the coming world order. So when you understand that, that explains a lot of Trump's motivations and actions and statements. Again, whether or not we'll actually be able to bring the jobs back to America. I've been hearing we can bring jobs back to America since I was a little kid. And all I've seen in the last 40 years is the jobs going away from America. So a lot of the rhetoric, a lot of the talk is good, but people have to understand how serious this is and how much of a disastrous situation we're actually in, and not get left over, which is the real challenge, because people don't want to give up and they want to retreat into video games or whatever and start to play video games. But the problem is that if you retreat from all this, if you don't keep fighting this, it's going to get a lot worse. And people fall into these other, psyops like, well, accelerationism, like, why don't we just collapse the whole thing? Listen, every time that something like that happens, you get a worse situation. Okay, we don't want to move away from civilization and what we have. We don't want to collapse things. In fact, that would actually aid the global elite better to collapse things, because then they would be in a position to institute UBI because of an economic collapse or whatever. So I wouldn't say that we need to go into those routes. We don't have to ever adopt vices and wickedness to try to fight evil. You can't fight evil with a bunch of evil at the individual level. But maybe there's an argument to be made for governments and assassinations or whatever in terms of warfare. I understand all that, but at least for the people, we can't fight evil with evil. But Burton Hurst goes on to talk about how Bill Donovan, the founder of the OSS, was actually a Rockefeller as an actual agent and representative, and together operatives were able to set up an early families like the DuPonts and other establishing America's private intelligence apparatus. This is what we know as the deep state. This is where it comes from. This is why we have a model that the British elites had discovered were better many, many, many centuries and years ago. So a royal society and a round of wise men, that's a better model for
oligarchy or oligarchy, as opposed to actually having a representative government or having a authority. This model would work better. This is the deep state secret government model. And the special operations executive of the British intelligence operatives, again, working at PESTA, people like working at PESTA, intelligence, which was not a capitalist enterprise. People think, actually, early intelligence going back to the last century were open. It is a socialist. They just happen to, and that's all national socialism, right? Because international socialism or thinking of corporatism, or that's the real secret. That's what really the about things like BlackRock. We're gonna look at the things like the Communist Manifesto. You're gonna notice that it's not the proletariat. The Federal Reserve and money printing and all that. It's actually the corporate elite. So if you just reword the Communist Manifesto instead of it being the worker or the state, and you realize it's the corporate state, it actually describes where we are. So you understand that this is actually the real plan, right? It's not Marxist workers. That part was wrong, but all the rest of it is actually what's happening. But to go back briefly to the origins of state, which runs things. Okay, this is actually the fake media narratives, right? The talking heads. This is the lawyers that are out there through things like Sullivan and Cromwell, sending Alan Dulles to Italy from between, Hitler's people and between the West and the Jewish banking elites. Literally, there's a whole chapter on that. I'm not saying that the Jewish banking elites were all behind Hitler. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that they had this key role.
Okay, I think we're done. Yep.
In fact, Ian Fleming, who wrote the James Bond series, was the personal aide to Bill Clinton. So you wonder where you want to know where we got our OSS and CIA. It's from James Bond. It's from Ian Fleming. He's the one that helped as the personal consultant and assistant to set it up. I said that when I was on with Alex that there was a key connection between Alan Dulles and Schroeder Bank and the dialectic. And a controlled dialectic doesn't mean that everything that Hitler's complaining about is wrong, right? There was Weimar money printing, there was economic and social degeneracy, and therefore Hitler was the hero and the good guy. Hitler and the National Socialists, something that we talked about, and the Bank for International Settlements, which quickly talks about being set up as Britain as a originally for now it doesn't evolve into that. It evolves into something else than that, but originally Sugar Bank was a
out.
It's important to understand
In the
that
back.
all of this is
Back.
set up
In the back.
not by
In the back, please.
government bureaucrats. It's set up and established by, it's not being done by Hitler. It's not being done by
Hey. Thank you.
the presidents of
Yeah.
America. It's been done
Right,
by
move, please.
the
Get back.
elites
Go. Get back.
and spies and
Back.
academics
I'm not like this.
that is setting up the world order post
Move, please.
World War II. For example, the famous spy James Jesus Angleton was in part of the secret team but in helping to set up some of these OSS operations in America. Contacts with the intelligence agencies in other countries, at the Rome desk with the CIA, for example, down the road, and helps to organize, for example, relationships between the CIA and the Vatican. That persuaded them to win Operation Gladio, Kissinger, etc. And that's what ended up compromising the Vatican on record. That's why the CIA was so involved in certain papal conclaves, like Paul VI's papal conclave, because they wanted to make sure like Paul VI was 100% on board with the CIA. That's why Kissinger would regularly fly over there and meet with Paul VI to ensure that he was on board with what the CIA wanted.
That means
It
GDMS.
was the Council on Relations and the Davos League, the same, right? Who ended up being the mentors to people like Klaus Schwab, are the same mentors to Pope Francis, right? Before disaster pro World Economic Forum, pro Davos attitude that Pope Francis had. Why was that? Well, that's because the mentor to Klaus Schwab, people like Paulo Freire, who wrote pedagogy books, also the mentor to Pope Francis, and Kamara, the bishop, one of the archbishops, the for Latin America. So that's who's telling the Vatican what they would like and what policy should be in place for an institution. It's just about Israel, it's not just about China, it's about all these things. And all of these entities that we're discussing here, right? What Bill Donovan, for example, was a major figure cultivating alliance between the Vatican and the CIA during the Cold War. Two period ended what's called that's a double-edged sword, right? It doesn't make the CIA the good guys, it makes the CIA the ones that are just in the direction of something like pagan socialism, and that's exactly what the document is about today, which is about the religion of being the same God, the same deity that's worshiped that he is worship. But also Gaudium et Spes, the Vatican's document deals with the Vatican's political position and ideology. Gaudium et Spes. Which is the fake socialist attitude on purpose. Why is that? It's, that's aspect of culture. It's
Cobra's who runs G.I. Joe. direct alliance with the church.
Oh.
And that's because we have been taken over. We have been supported from within. As we saw earlier in the interviews that I was earlier, it's not just the leftists and the socialists. We have this takeover from within of all of our institutions. And Gramsci, the famous Marxist socialist, talked about, right? Is that that's the same idea as a socialist. Let's get into the institutions. So whether it's the economy, whether it's the arts, whether it's whatever, it doesn't matter. Like that's how we got to the stupidity of Christians in the West, the foolishness of the establishment narratives is what led to them taking over, getting out the people. So that they're all and they're all that
All right.
we talked about this stuff. Each other like a world. But they have a ethic to where they are just I have the right to, rape, steal, plunder, whatever. That would best. So that's another this incredible dual ethic, which is ultimately destructive to the whole social order, right? That they don't care because they believe that they're going to institute, their technocracy or their social paradise and repeating the secret the return socialism by design. And why is it? Well, I think going on that Marx's plan was always a bank corporately was always by funder customers. And so let's listen to this. Think about it, not just as a state in the sense of it's really effectively the application of the and all the written plan to the state. Oh, like BlackRock buying a city, or all of the families. They have to replace it. Which goes to fund all the other ventures, right? By the pay that to the private. So again, we're already two planks. Again, all the massive taxation in this country is another way to attack that. Centralization of credit and issuance of money in of a private corporate. So they're the technology. What is Bobby Kennedy Jr. dropping into that glass of water? Plenty of folks are wondering what was in that little bottle he uncorked during the flight. Something that went on 73 my life.
I know what that did for me. I got me under really bad. So I ordered it, I drank it, and boy, what a test something. What a blessing. I do want to try to see that thing do better. I feel like a real class. Like that.
Yeah, bringing all those other back, grab them on the thing out, and I got a couple of people that
How many of my ancestors were the Marines, the beat the Barbary pirates? Wow.
Well, I must say that it does. I don't even know what Alex said. I know about it.
Everyone's mind for some day as we do every day with our daily dispatch. For the Thursday, the 22nd of February 2026, a magistrate judge rejects charges against John for anti-ICE protest of the church. A Minnesota federal magistrate judge refused to sign a complaint charging journalist Don Lemon
Presidential
protest
highest.
inside a church in St. Paul on Sunday.
President is the chief magistrate.
For a request to charge Don Lemon, the judge denied it. At least two other people stormed the church after harassing guys been arrested at this point. But the judge signed it for Don Lemon. I'll tell you all about that a little bit later. The judge, of course, spent his entire career dedicated to this point to counter everything Trump does and trying to stop him at every pass. He's also a judge himself. Protesters. So if you're a plumber, U.S. Capitol, if you're Don Lemon, collaborating with a terrorist church to frighten children, that's okay. Just so we're aware of the law and order in the country at this point. Although, back have had some more than 20% last year, largest drop on record, study shows. Dropped after of course.
Hey, don't do that, please.
Enforcement protest at
Do I need to stop you? Oh. Sorry. Guys, please stop barking like that. We need to keep a low profile, please. Love you. Should I just hurry up? Should I just hurry up and go? I want to take a minute to think about it. I want to feel good.
Oh, God, please. Really, they would be buying a patient. If they won't buy it.
Segment breaking. Just on fight with Michael. In the second segment of this hour. Fact. Across. It's very interesting. Not exactly going that well for Jack Smith, but of course, defiant and tough. Again,
Well, that's I could buy Rumble Premium, but
What in focus going on? I got nothing. Stop accepting that blur is just aging. Dr. Sidney was given the top
was appointed. I don't know. I don't know the particular.
I started on the 20th of second. I mean, you have to agree it's a lot. It's saying that the oath of office, it someone question. It sounds like the attorney general signed this on the 14th day of September of the following year. So why did you take the oath of office?
you down if you're gonna horse.
When you say you took the office in November
Lay down
of 2022,
please. It's silly.
why'd you
I took it, as you said, it was the 18th to the 20th. I felt I was under the office. I believe
signed either notary Garland thought it was significant enough.
that's walking around like he's an expert and is allowed to do this. Gathering evidence. Some
That's so
About
funny
those.
to put it like that.
for
That's like one of us doing it.
why how kicked off and why did
He's just some dude.
that'll have to do with her not being accurate, though she was had to be appointed as a interim choir approval for 90 days or whatever it is. But her because the guy that expire in 5 days. They had to appoint Lindsay Halligan, but she doesn't get approved by the Senate because there's literally no time. She has to get an indictment in 5 days. The indictment's thrown out because they say Halligan is tough. However, that's nothing he did ever ran into that barrier. How very curious, right? Learning this over and over again. The fact that the hell they want, whenever the hell they want. Whereas the Republicans, even are a law, they still just not out anyway. Completely, utterly, and outrageous system. President Jackson caught him on a couple things. Let's go to President Jackson earlier. Mr. Smith, is Cassidy Hutchinson their star? Their star. A baby put together. She was the only one at this special prime time. 20 o'clock, and she told some stories. I mean, these were some stories. She talked about cross the back seat, grabbed the stick, drive the car to the Capitol. I just want to know, you think she was lying? Assessment of that particular issue the president the driver.
Oh, sorry.
My recollection of her testimony about that is that she said she heard that from somebody. I'm sorry. Yes. What else?
It's right there.
Right now. He said it didn't happen. Yes, I am. Secret Service agent. That day, he said it didn't happen. And then story was when Miss Hutchinson testified of the January 6th committee. By the way, did you ever confirm her testimony about this particular I said before, our own investigation of all aspects of the case that we thought was relevant. Attorney in my office. Other first-hand witness who was in the car who did not confirm but also he said this. My recollection of Ms. Hutchinson was a number of things that she gave evidence on the second. I did. That was about now. Yeah, and he also said Ms. Hutchinson yes, that's correct, sir. That's correct. We had not made the final choice of witnesses. Jack Smith had wondered whether some of Hutchinson's claims might be relied upon in trial. Smith told the election team wasn't ready to give up on Hutchinson's account. Trump administration officials disputed her accounts under oath. Prosecutors on so they I certainly have not made any final determinations about it. Who the point. That is the point. The fact that they used her in the prime time Al never didn't rule out using her, put it on the witness stand. When everybody knows telling the truth, that says it all. Got him. That's the left and Democrats were willing to go to get President 185 times. So that the whole country knows, and considering putting her on the witness stand because you had to get President Trump, and everybody can see what guys. So set up a trap, set up with the box over in a tree. They'll hide behind the tree, and here comes Jack Smith. Qualified,
Oh. Stop that. You're acting.
Totally undermines I trial that they did, but you also can't say, yeah, sure, everybody. You know, the problem that we were talking about back when the show trial was going on was the show trial. Show trial should have go up, lie her ass off, fabricated never happened, but she never gets cross-examined because the show trial has that convenient aspect to it that you never have to give the chance to defend themselves. Let's put forward people who will condemn the people and never be questioned for legitimate their retelling of the evidence.
Hey, guys.
Lies she and the lawyer for the defendant, and they've been able to cross-examine her. The whole thing falling apart would have been exposed as the ridiculous charade that it always was. That's why the trial. Put that evidence out in public sphere, dressed up as if it looks like a court proceeding. And so the assumption is the average person watching there, when they hear an awful lot like a trial.
Get away from the stuff.
And so they're going to assume that the trial applied. That the person was taking the truth, that they'll be cross-examined, the evidence is by the judge, jury. There was no defendant. There was no cross-examination whatsoever. Because it was a show trial put on by traitors to our country, attempting to guide the tyranny under the facade of a legal proceeding, under the facade of process.
Thankful to be here.
So, I just all of that they got put her on the way they approved her evidence as if it was truthful anyway, by because they could, because there was simple evidence. Confront their entire anathema to the function of the system, not just the judiciary, but like that America was built on. The right to defend yourself, the right to speak for yourself, and when other people are condemning all of those things destroyed by the Democrats in this sickening and tyrannical pursuit of their political enemies. Which is why it's so infuriating that these people have been put in jail yet. Jack Smith is just a figurehead. He has a behind him of corrupt people that helped put this on, that helped carry this out. Absolutely. People are psychotic. I'm not even joking. Let's go to clip 31. Former Captain Michael Bonone caught yelling at herself out in Congress like a child, like he clown trying to make cool kids laugh by off and saying F you. Her on the Capitol and treat like some sort of champion for the first champion for psychotic. He's insane. I mean, I'm not even here like this is he's actually a former cop to participate show trial, tyrannical repression of patriotic people. So 31 years, Michael Fanone, petulant child.
I would like to quickly address the police officer. Mr. Don, Mr. Cornell, Mr. Hodges. I'm a member of the new select committee who actually said what happened that day. And I can tell you, gentlemen, that the fault does not lie with Donald Trump. It lies with no and I that day. Play my time. I'm a gentleman from Texas. We've had some disruptions already. Don't need that. But the gentleman, the Capitol leadership team,
Why would you
specifically,
not just kick that guy out of the chamber? He calls him, go F yourself. Are we children? Are we supposed to pretend like, what do we do here?
I hope I haven't really cussed yet today, on stream or whatever, or at all. But I'm sure I have a little bit. I want to try not to. I know that I'll grow faster on Rumble if I don't cuss, and if I don't sound so hateful, and don't say kill and kill this group and kill that shadowy group. Because if I had a following, that could probably be misconstrued. But normally I just refer to the baby eaters, the baby killers, the unlawful organ harvesters, the Satanists, the human sacrificers, the assassins, or ones who paid the assassins to kill JFK, RFK, MLK, Malcolm X, Charlie Kirk. You know what I mean? And then all the other like poisonings and heart attacks and stuff that are even harder to track. Maybe like Pat Buchanan or so. And heck, even if they killed the real Joe Biden, I'm not too happy about that. He wasn't that bad. Trump was right. That wasn't the Joe that we know. So anyway, I mean, not that Joe was good, not that he was great or even good, but he was probably a heck of a lot better than what we received.
Why is that guy allowed to stay? I mean, anybody else be allowed to try this? They're open.
I now call it the Cadaver Autopin Venezuela China administration. Those 4 elements.
Go F yourself to the person talking.
Or, now that I think about it, reduce it down to 2. The stolen commie election.
Allowed to cough a little bit beforehand as a disguise. I mean, it's just, why do we treat people with kid gloves? Why are we constantly out or constantly just like, not again? Like at a certain point, you gotta just treat people like they are, like petulant children in timeout or late-term abortion. More accurate solution to all of this. Go to clip number 32 here. This is Jackson.
Oh, just go it. Listen to him. I like that, Harrison. He said you go around killing babies. Well, what's up? You're in your 40s or 50s, or that's just a late-term abortion. Oh shit. Oh, I cussed with it. I gotta laugh at that because a baby's a lot more innocent than a 40 or 50-year-old. Whew. Spare me. I literally just test our freedom of speech because sometimes I feel like we have nothing left.
Why Donald Trump is some sort of master criminal that Jack Smith, the hero, for trying to stop. I mean, again, we're going to keep pushing these lies until they're forced to not do so. Let's watch.
Despite the fact that your own deposition knowledge the existence of conflicting advice. If this defendant were anyone other than Donald J. Trump, I find it hard to believe that we would be sitting here today having a hearing about an indictment that was returned, knowing that the elements of the offenses could not be demonstrated.
None of this was legal. None of this has any constitutional order. Literally none of it. The show trial for January 6th was I don't know, I'll call it a farce, but like it's more than a farce. It's a farce. It's ridiculous. It was a circus because it was all fraudulent on the face of it. But it's like calling a gunshot wound a farce. It's like, no, this was an attempt to murder our country. Actually, it's an attempt to create the groundwork for show trials so that political dissidents tried in public but never be allowed to defend themselves, and outrageous lies against them into the record as if it was under oath testimony. It never was. I mean, this is our country we're allowed to go for. Jack's disappointment still sitting. Why? They tried. They failed. And they didn't really fail. What is the government set up show trials?
Yeah, there. unlock. Oh my goodness, it's all gone. Wow. Maybe I'll just shop at Dillon's. Woo! That back could be okay. We'll just have to pay more, I guess. Let's see. See how much is that one? I do have that. These. More expensive. Butane propane mixes.
It still ain't working.
Excuse me, are you single? Okay. Don't want to walk away empty-handed. They're out of propane. They're out of propane, so I was forced to get alcohol. I hope we can run our heater. Let's go look for some propane at a different store. Just have a little bit on my head and spend a whole lot. Okay, scoot over, please. Please. Yeah. That chick was like the cream of the crop. Had a cute little dog with her. Ooh, that's a lot of mouth noises right in my ear. Slop chomp. Slop chomp pop. You're so cute. You look like a seal. Oh, you're so silly. Watch out, baby. No! Don't overdrive it. Thank you. Thank you. Please stop doing that in my ear. Sheesh. Ooh, bitch. Nasty bitch. Get your fucking mouth away from me. All I'm hearing is that smacking shit in my ear. Son of a bitch. Shit. No, why would you do that? It's so busy. Wow. Stop your fucking mouth popping. Please, thank you. It's like multitasking or something. Oh. Sorry, but shit. I can only take so much. I mean, I don't know if you can control it or not. It looks like you can. Silly talk. My favorite. Love you guys. Thank you for living with me. Thank you for giving me a reason to keep going. Yeah, you give me a reason to keep going. Yeah. You're my reason. You're my reason. Don't get too rambunctious, though. Settle down. Hey, settle down, please. Oh, that's Stacy. I've been knowing her for a long time. Don't bark into the nebulous. Don't bark. That's nebulous barking.
No need to respond.
I love his supplement formula. I am an acupuncturist. I have a master's degree in Chinese medicine, and he's got some really good formulas put together, and they work really well. I really appreciate it. I've stopped taking all of my other stuff that I was taking, and I've just taken a lot of you guys' stuff. I mean, because I love you and I want to support everything you guys are doing, but the formulas are powder that I've tried every different type of greens powder out there, and nothing has had as much stuff, amazing stuff packed into it, and it has like a decent flavor to it. So the optimal is like a daily staple.
It's good, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and I'm not saying that because just for you guys, but seriously, I've tried so many greens powder.
Katie, did we pay you to call?
I would love to work for you. Our picture is on my list of all
You're paying them, but like, no, but our products really are good. People really like them. It's true.
well, I credit I decided to leave California because of Dash Trump, and I had to Jones when I found him, and I'm like, I didn't know how to do this.
Right.
So I moved back home to my husband, that life-changing event for me was because of listening to all the information that he gives. He's not like predicting the future, but they're telling you what they're going to do.
Yeah, well, now you have a 3-year-old kid, so your life's going great.
Yeah.
I've said it before, but with a lot of these products, like, you really don't know what it's going to do for you. You might not know that you're lacking a vitamin or lacking a mineral, and it happens all the time with iodine. Iodine is one of those things where, like, as soon as you start taking it, you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to. I'm not a doctor. It's not a medical claim, but people experience this. I've heard it from my friends where they're like, I'm not supposed to be tired all the time. I apparently just was lacking iodine. And it's like, you don't know if you're going to feel more energetic, if you're going to sleep better, if you're not going to have chills anymore. It's like people thinking that's the way their body is. But it's like, no, you're missing a key component. You're missing a vitamin, you're missing a mineral, and you don't even realize it until you start taking something from the Alex Jones store. So I completely understand that you start taking the Irish sea moss and suddenly something that's always just the way your body is. No, it turns out you can fix it. You can fix these things. Again, I'm not making medical claims, but you can only find out for yourself what effects these things will have. TheAlexJonesStore.com. Thanks for the plug, Katie.
Whatever the future may hold, InfoWars will always forever. The fight will continue. Be sure to follow us on X. Now you can download the #1 news app. Go to AlexJonesApp.com and let the party know.
I'll keep posting subscribers on. Don't show Alex Jones. Oh, 2:22:22. Are you kidding me? I could have hit the end button right then.